I was curious as to what makes them different. What makes white supremacy different, or like Islamophobia so different from anti-Semitism?
Freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of association, and so on. If I want to kill you and behead you, unless you convert to the religion I dictate, what would be the place of compromise?
If you think that radical Islam might be dangerous for the world, then you need to know who Ayaan Hirsi is. And hopefully by now you're familiar with her work, because she is an absolutely beautiful female politician who came from Somalia. And she has made it her life mission, obviously she's right-wing, to fight against radical Islam. Okay, she's a critic of Islam, I think, in general as a whole, not just Islam, because radical Islam, because she believes that as a woman, it's actually not what they make it out to be. She thinks that determination of Muslim women opposes forced marriage, honor killing, child marriage, and female genital mutilation. She thinks those things are bad. And guess what? So do you. We all think that those things are bad. And I think sitting as an outsider and reporting on this and saying, hey, I really don't like this, has a certain impact, but it doesn't have the real life impact of somebody who was in it, who experienced it, who knows what it truly means to have Islamization saying, guys, this is bad for humanity. We have to do something about it. Voices like this are so important. I don't even want to call them defectors, because it's not that. They grew up in a society, they learned the dangers of it, and they're now out there whistleblowing and telling you directly what is really going on. And obviously, there are the elitist Westerners who think they know better, and they think that they can disregard everything she has to say because, no, this is really a woman-first religion, despite the fact that it believes in human mutilation, genital mutilation, or child marriage, etc. But I love her, and I think her voice is very, very important, and I want us to review some of her content today and see what you think about what she has to say about the realities of Islam. But first, make sure that you have liked, commented, and most importantly, subscribe to our channel. We are creating a movement, and I am so, so glad you're here. And if you're one of the members who are financially supporting us, God bless you. Honestly, let's go.
I would like to reiterate the thanks for your time here at the University of Austin. What I wanted to ask you was, you speak of Islamophobia and classes like Black Studies as phony ideological things, but I was curious as to what makes them different. What makes white supremacy different, or like Islamophobia so different from anti-Semitism, as there, we did import many African slaves that died in the millions, and so did South American countries even more so. We did force Native Americans on forced marches and genocide. There are Muslims being massacred in China today. So what makes anti-Semitism so different?
Two things. One is we have reckoned in America and in Western European countries, we've had a great reckoning with our past. We've addressed the fact that we engaged in slavery, we fought a war, we ended it. We had segregation, we had another major fight, we ended it. We had the civil rights movement. We brought women out of, and by the way, in fighting for all of those emancipations, the people who were heading these fights were constantly quoting from the Bible. They were believing Christians, and they were inspired by their Christianity. So number one, we had that reckoning. Number two, anti-Semitism is the oldest hatred in humanity, and you find it, believe it or not, across the entire world. What made the West different after they nearly exterminated their Jews was to have that honest look in the mirror and reckon with what they did. And then those campaigns to end it. Islamophobia is a made-up word. It's made up by a political movement that wants to exploit and capitalize on white guilt to achieve its end goal, which is the revival of the caliphate. And the revival of the caliphate is to convert all of us into Islam, whether we like it or not. Those of us who refuse to do that, we will surely be beheaded. I'm sure I'm on top.
Do you hear what she said about the anti-Semitism thing in the West? I think this is such an interesting thing, and I think this is an indicator of why Western society is something so worth saving, okay? Not only is it that we're very powerful and we would be capable of fighting against a threat like Islamization, but at the end of the day, Western societies almost exterminated the Jews in the Holocaust. And I don't like talking about the Holocaust too much because I think at this point it makes people feel exhausted. But there was a simple reality of the fact that Western mentality, this German mentality, took over and tried to dominate the world and murder people that they disagreed with ideologically. Then the Americans and the British and the Allies came together and they said, this is not okay. We don't believe in this. We don't agree with this. and we're going to do something to stop it. And they stopped it. And after this happened, they had a reckoning and an understanding within themselves of, one second, what is right and what is wrong? And this is wrong. This is wrong. And that's what's so beautiful about Western society, is that yes, there are many issues, there are many flaws. It is very corrupt. There is real problems within it. But there is also a very deep commitment to trying to improve it, to trying to fight back, and the freedom to be able to do so. The freedom to speak, the freedom to protest, the freedom to make money, the freedom to change your life from the way it was, the freedom of religion, etc. That is what is so important about the West. Not that it's perfect. It's very, very far from perfect. It has many huge issues, but it allows people to emancipate themselves from those issues. It allows people to give themselves a second chance and change and shift. And that's a beautiful thing. Radical Islam, however, as this woman is saying, doesn't believe in that at all. It doesn't believe in that at all.
And that is their end goal. And so they're exploiting these Western part of subversion. This is just a guest speech, but I wish that at some point someone here could start a lecture series on subversion, on active measures, on asymmetric warfare. That would get you interested in what it is that the Islamists are doing and how they've become so successful against these great nations with this incredible military and economic structures, and yet the Islamists are winning. Islam is spreading. They're doing better today than they were doing in 2001 after they hit us and we invaded Afghanistan. They've got Afghanistan back. They have Iraq back. They have Syria. And these Muslim governments are they're shaking in their boots. They're worried about what could happen to them because of the Islamist movement, and that's why the Islamist movement came here. And they're exploiting principles like freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of association, and so on. And of course, these progressive movements that we have here, we've got to understand that, and we've got to become really creative in finding a way of preserving our principles. I don't want to give up on the freedom of speech, but on the other hand, on beating the Islamists at their game.
Is there room for compromise between principles?
If I want to kill you and behead you, unless you convert to the religion I dictate, what would be the place of compromise?
Well, I would not mind converting, as I myself am an agnostic, so have no faith, have no established faith. However, I understand that some people would not share that vision. So,
let's play with this thought for a while. There's a time and a place for everything, and for some of the people, say in places like Africa, we don't talk about this, but Islamists are active in Africa and violently so. If you're a Christian in Egypt or a Hindu in parts of Pakistan, and you have someone looking at you and saying, you'll either lose your head or you convert to Islam, it makes sense to consider converting to Islam. But here today, for us to have the attitude of, well, we'll see what happens, and if we get to that point, I'll just convert, I will say, are you sure? Maybe you want to get educated on what would happen once you convert. What would your life be like, and the life of your sisters and women? What would they do to the Jews? He has said, this man, I repeat it, he said they're bacteria and they're microbes. And in the video that I showed you, they made it very clear it has nothing to do with Palestine. It has everything to do with them being Jewish. So they are going to annihilate the Jews. Will you stand by and watch that? Maybe I should give Introduction to Islam and Islamism as a lecture series, and once you understand what it's all about, you might develop a backbone.
I would look forward to that greatly. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, Theo already started my question, but my question is inspired by what Jesus says in the Sermon on the Mount about blessed are the peacemakers. So we see in human nature a desire to scapegoat, right? And you're arguing that the Jews are being, there's a movement, or there's something that is trying to present Jews as the scapegoat, right? You talk about two important forces, maybe the Islam nation state, which is like a political power, which is a threat, but then also this, like, you talk about this network, like, mosques all over the place, and these communities, and all it's infiltrating America and the West. So if we don't want to fall into our natural tendency to scapegoat and just become, instead of moving from anti-Semitism to anti-Islamicism, and our goal is to be peacemakers, then how do we do that? But at the end of your last question, you framed it as a violent struggle, right? If it's a violent struggle, then who is our enemies and what do we do?
Right after 9/11, you were probably not born. How old were you on 9/11?
I was born in 2004.
2004, so before you. So right after 9/11, 2001, when we were having these discussions about how to treat this enemy that wasn't a state, but that was determined to destroy us, some of the discussions were, but we can't do this because of the Constitution. We can't do that because of the Constitution. We can't do this because... And a very frustrated judge, or Justice Posner, said, the Constitution is not a suicide pact. So I don't think there is a lot of space between committing suicide and doing what the young man here said, is to let it just all happen. And I mean, when the time comes, I guess we will convert or we'll deal with it, whatever. And really looking at and studying openly, which we haven't been able to do because we've been self-censoring. And I gave you that list of all the different ways in which we underestimated the Islamist movement. But if we were to estimate it the right way, I will say in our history in America, it's not the first time that we are fighting an ideology that wants to destroy us. Communism, just the other day, not so long ago, most of us lived through it. And you call it a Cold War here, but in Africa and in other parts of the world, it wasn't cold, it was hot. And we starved and all of it. So there were very good reasons for the United States and Western countries to fight the ideology of communism. And they developed a number of, I'd say, tools to recognize it when it's applying internal subversive methods and when it's coming from an external position. And we can reapply those, but we do have to identify Islamism and Islamists as the enemy that they are and give them the full respect. You asked me to identify and you asked me to define what is an enemy. It's a force that wants to destroy you. How do I know that? In this infrastructure of mosques and madrasas and Islamic centers, etc., they say it explicitly. So there is something about don't listen to me, don't listen to the analysts with PhDs and the like. Listen to them and what they say and take it at their word.
So does this come down to a propaganda war? Like we just inculcate our children before they do? Is that where the battle lies?
I think because the war they wage is totalitarian and total.
But ours,
and
where do we meet them?
Well, we have to meet, ours has to be total too. It has to be where they fight us with ideas, we fight them with ideas. Where they fight us with subversive means, we recognize that and we dismantle this infrastructure and kick them out of the country. We have those tools, we have these possibilities. We can't just let them spread. And this, again, we did the same to communists. We watched as communists grew and as they were subverting our societies, and we took the appropriate measures against individuals, against groups, and so on, but always with due process. And always within the limits of the Constitution. But we can't, again, I repeat, the Constitution is not a suicidal pact.
Amen, woman, amen. Amen! What an important point. Seriously, this is it. It's like the Western society has the opportunity and the chance to really save the world from this thing. And instead, we are falling for the lie. They are coming in and they are trying to use our own safeguards of democracy to make us fall. They are looking, as you said, at the freedom of religion, freedom of society, freedom, financial freedoms, etc., freedom of speech. And they're saying, how can we take that over and use it for our own goals? They've had to leave their countries because their countries understand. If you go to Iran, if you go to Syria, if you go to Lebanon, if you go to Egypt, if you go to any one of these countries, they understand the dangers of these Islamization people. They understand it. They've seen it. It's destroyed their societies. Iran was a beautiful, amazing country, and it was completely eviscerated. Now, were there issues with the leadership in Iran? Yeah, for sure. Are there issues with the leadership in the West? Yes, but that doesn't even begin to hold a candle to the issues we will have if our countries are Islamified. It's not that complicated to wrap your head around. It's just not. And you have to have somebody out there who's fighting against female genital mutilation. That's what she's fighting against, to say, no, I promise you, you don't want this. But they are so sophisticated in their understanding of our systems and our flaws and our obsession with believing that we are similar to everybody else. Because we believe something, everybody wants it. Because money is our top value, then it's a top value for everybody. It's not true. It's not true. In fact, I would go as far as to say something further. When we look at countries like Qatar and Saudi Arabia that have made an absolute killing, they're rolling in money. Why are they doing that if their religious belief is not actually anything to do with money, it's to do with Islamization? Well, because they understand that Western societies like money and can't control themselves when it comes to money. And so therefore, part of their strategy is to make tons of money so that they can literally control Western society. And I don't know if that's true. It's a theory of mine, but it's very simple. They look at us and they mock our belief systems. But not only do they mock them, they come in, they take them for granted, and they use them to destroy us from inside. And it's enough is enough. Western society creates the most amazing safeguards to be able to continue to better ourselves, to continue to have freedoms, to continue to have something like the Holocaust, to be able to come out of that and rebuild, to really rebuild. And these people, they're mocking us, and they're using us, and they're using the things that are sacred to us to try and turn societies over so that we get destroyed for them, for their benefit. Why would anybody want that for their society? Tell me. Why? Thank you for your attention to this matter.